Welcome back to Winning Isn't Easy. Is Allsup really interested in helping you or the disability carrier plan when they recommend that you use Allsup to get your Social Security benefits? Now, most ERISA disability carriers or plans require that you apply for Social Security disability benefits. Why? The policy of the plan considers Social Security disability benefits and that of your minor children to be other income that's going to be deducted dollar for dollar from the gross amount of your long-term benefits. In other words, it's a way for the carrier of the plan to legally reduce how much you get paid in your benefits. So let me take you through some math. If your long-term disability policy pays you $5,000 per month and your Social Security disability benefits are $2,000 per month, the disability carrier only has to pay you $3,000 per month. Now, of course, you'll still get your Social Security benefits. And that exercise, that deduction, is going to apply even if you don't apply for Social Security disability benefits. Because many times people will say, well, I'm not going to apply for those benefits. To which I say, well, too bad, so sad, because the policy of the plan lets them take the offset regardless of whether you've applied or not. So how does this go? Well, you apply for your long-term disability benefits, the carrier or plan starts paying you, and then they say, look, you should sign up with Allsup or a similar company, and it's at no financial cost to you because they'll help you apply for your Social Security disability benefits. Now, I am always asked, are they really interested in helping me or are they helping the disability carrier? Well, if you have to ask that question, you already know what the answer is. And the short answer is they're interested in helping the disability carrier and not you. So what are the problems potentially with using Allsup and other providers that are recommended by disability carriers or plans? Number one, they have a conflict of interest. Number two, the sharing of medical information and confidences and other relevant information can potentially destroy your ERISA disability claim. So let's talk about these in greater detail. Now, let's talk about conflict of interest. They have no ethical obligation to put your interests first because they want to help long-term disability insurance companies like Unum, Cigna, MetLife, Mutual of Omaha, New York Life, and Standard Reliance, who send them lots of cases, and they get paid, regardless, I think, of whether they win or not. So as a financial incentive to you, they claim that the disability carrier will pay the attorney's fee for securing the benefits. And the reality is that most disability carriers are going to deduct from the offset calculations the attorney fee that you pay to your private attorney. So what do I mean by that? Many times what I find is that they'll dangle this financial incentive in front of people. They'll say, look, we're going to pay for the attorney and you don't have to worry about that. And we're not going to deduct what we pay from the offset amount. In my experience, what will happen is they don't deduct it anyway. So if I get the Social Security disability benefits and I get paid a fee, I've always found that the carrier or plan doesn't consider the amount of the fee. In other words, they don't penalize you for it in determining the offset. So whatever the back benefits are minus the attorney's fee, that net is the number that they are using to calculate the offset. So that claim that they are giving you something for nothing or that they're going to pay the fee and it won't impact you, I think is a bogus fee. I think that misrepresentation alone is unethical and it demonstrates a clear conflict of interest. Now, when you sign up with one of these services, they're going to ask you to sign a number of releases. That allows them to secure your medical records, and you have to agree that any back benefits they secure will be electronically sucked out of your bank account and sent to the disability carrier. Now, while the carrier has the right to an offset of back benefits, I find there's often a disagreement as to the period of the offset and the amount of the offset. So giving the disability, carrier the back pay that you might be due right off the bat makes it difficult for you to get your money back if they're wrong. And they are often wrong. Let's talk about sharing of medical information and confidences and other relevant information. What information gets shared, I don't think is confidential. I think it's often shared with a disability carrier plan. They may say they wall it off. I don't really think that's true. And I think that's problematic for a number of reasons. Many disability policies or plans have limitations on the amount of benefits that are going to be paid, or the time rather, that the benefits are going to be paid for a mental nervous condition or subjective conditions. And these clauses are called mental nervous or subjective medical condition clauses. So let's say your policy has a mental nervous policy condition clause that says if your disability is caused or contributed ever so slightly, benefits are limited to 2 years. So you've had a back injury, that's the basis of your disability claim, but you're depressed, as you should be depressed. Uh, what will happen, in my experience, is that these companies will develop the depression as the basis of the claim, not necessarily the back, or they will really try to hammer potentially the combination so that there's this contribution issue. What we try to do is to be very selective about what medical condition we're claiming is the basis of the disability claim and the Social Security disability claim. And we want to make sure if we've got one of these Monty Python type wafer thin contribution clauses, mental nervous clauses, that we are not developing the mental nervous condition as the cause of the disability. It's there, but it's not the cause. That's not necessarily true with how the file is developed if you are using a service recommended by the insurance company. Now, the other thing you need to understand is that there is a subjective medical condition limitation in some policies. And people who have problems with back spasms, migraines, pain, fatigue, those conditions, again, can be limited to just 2 years of benefits. Again, we've got to be very selective about what medical conditions we're developing for both the Social Security and the ERISA disability claim, and making sure that any disability is not caused by these subjective medical conditions. It's a factor, but it is not the cause of disability. And so we try to go to great lengths to make that distinction in the medical records. And we do that in part by explaining to our clients how to tell the story of their symptoms and functionality in a way that the doctor can legitimately and honestly conclude that it is not the cause of the disability. Now, do you think that companies like Allsup and other services are going to take the time to dissect the medical, look at the policy, figure out what condition should be the basis of the Social Security claim, how to limit the impact of the disabling medical condition in conjunction with the clauses in the policy, so that at the end of the 2 years, the carrier can't say, hey, wait a second, yeah, we know you have back pain, but your disability has been contributed to as a result of your depression. Or by the way, fatigue is the cause of your disability, and fatigue is a condition that's limited to just 2 years under your ERISA disability policy or plans. So it's an important distinction, isn't it? So I'm often asked, should I use a company like Allsup or any other company recommended by the disability carrier or plan? I think the answer is hell no. They cannot really legally prevent you from contracting with an attorney of your choice to represent you in your Social Security disability claim. In fact, I've never seen a disability carrier plan say, if you don't use Allsup or fill in the blank, we're going to deny your benefits. I think it's wiser to have an attorney who has your best interests at heart, knows how to develop the appropriate medical conditions to win both of your claims, and will work closely with you, with your long-term disability attorney, if you are not represented by an attorney such as myself, who do both long-term disability and Social Security benefits. So, got it? I think that your head should be spinning, but at the end of the day, the answer is no, you should not be using these types of services. Yes, you should be finding your own ERISA disability and Social Security attorney. Hopefully they're the same. If not, make sure they are both talking with each other and both understand what needs to be proven in each case, and will coordinate the development of the medical proof so that you get both your Social Security disability benefits and your ERISA disability benefits. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Winning Isn't Easy. Hopefully you now have a clearer picture of why it might not be in your best interest to use Allsup or any other service to assist you with your claim. Remember, when it comes to both your Social Security disability and your ERISA benefits, you deserve an advocate who has your best interests in heart. You need to understand that they have to be fully dedicated to your case and will guide you through the process from the very beginning. If you found this episode helpful, please take a moment to like our page, leave a review, and share it with your family or friends, and subscribe to this podcast. We would also love to hear from you. At the beginning of each episode description, you'll find a link where you can send us your questions or comments. We might even feature you in a future episode. So thanks, and join us next week for another insightful episode of Winning Isn't Easy.